So just to quickly go back and introduce ourselves properly. I'm Jenny Dobson, Market Research Coordinator, and obviously we now have Jenny on the call as well. And these are just the areas I'm planning on covering. So looking at the key findings from the results, why were we doing the survey? Well, in 2012, we produced our first report looking at what specifiers want from construction product manufacturers. Since then, the report's been downloaded or requested a number of times. The construction industry is constantly evolving. As in many industries, digital ways of working are increasingly being adopted, and the government's April 2016 BIM mandate deadline has passed. But what effect are those changes having? Is the way that the industry produces specifications changing as a result? What does the industry expect of the future of those specifications? They were really just some of the questions that we're looking to answer when we carried out the fourth MBS specification survey in November 2016. In the report and within this webinar, we answered some of those questions among others. Though it is the second What Specifiers Want report, we have ran this survey 4 times. This year, we received over 500 responses to the survey. Their background is diverse. Many are architects, but others are architectural technologists, building surveyors, and building services engineers. They also came from a range of practice sizes, from micro or sole practitioners through to large practices. And they weren't just those who were using MBS specification tools. So that diverse range of respondents has provided us with a good understanding of current views about the specifications and the process that specifiers follow. So you can see here that respondents were heavily involved in the specification process. Close to 3/4 of respondents are actually writing the specification. Around 2/3 are also involved in product selection, and over half are involved in researching construction products. It's evident that many are carrying out a combination of those tasks. One role of specification is obviously to set out the materials and manufacturers' products that should be used, or if specific products are being named, the performance levels these should adhere to. But what influences specifiers' product selection or the selection of that performance criteria? Well, you can see here the top 10 factors that specifiers tell us they consider when making that decision. Primarily, it's about how the product will perform. That's not really a surprise. Each product has a job to do, and the specifier wants and needs to ensure that it will do that job. But for nearly 4 out of 5 specifiers, it's also about the relationship that they have with and previous experience of the manufacturer or product. Linked to that is the 4th most influential factor, the support and assistance that they can expect to get from the manufacturer during the design and construction. The range of available products is constantly expanding, and new methods of construction and manufacture are being introduced. That means specifiers need to know a lot of detail about an increasingly wide range of products. It's not possible for specifiers to be experts in everything, and that's where that relationship that many specifiers want can help. Manufacturers know their products better than anyone, so who's better to provide that advice and guidance to them? Practicalities such as the location and the delivery timeframe do have a role, but both appeared outside of the top 10. Nearly everyone responding to the survey told us they'd experienced difficulties when producing or using a specification. You can see here the top 10 causes of those difficulties, which the full list is available in the report. They cited the key issue of those difficulties as specified materials being substituted, not a new issue or one that's easy to resolve, but it can be helped by the quality of information contained within the specification. The more precise and detailed that information is, the more difficult it will be for it to be argued that an alternative inferior product is equal to the original proposed product. Other common causes given by respondents were around the drawings and specifications contradicting each other, and the presence of inaccurate or incomplete technical data. But how can the manufacturer Support helps specifiers to overcome these and other issues. We'll look at that over the next few slides. We've already seen that the relationship specifiers have with manufacturers is important to them, and we see further evidence of that here. 7 out of 10 believe that the process does work best when manufacturers are involved at an early stage, and they rely on manufacturers for help and support when selecting products. But 4 out of 5 respondents do see a need for better communication between those involved in the product selection process, not just with manufacturers. But between consultants, contractors and manufacturers, that would also help avoid some of the specification difficulties caused by those involved in the specification not working collaboratively or communicating effectively. In our 2013 specification survey, substitution was cited as the main cause of difficulties when producing or using a specification, and remains so. Knowing that that was an issue in 2013 prompted us to ask specifiers whether it's still an issue. For nearly 4 out of 5 respondents, it is. Your views on product substitution might vary, but we know that designers are concerned about how some aspects of design intent can be lost as a result of it. When a specifier stipulates the product to use, they've chosen the one that they believe will deliver the design intent. In these situations, the manufacturer and the specifier have a shared interest in defending the specification. That can be achieved through the provision of the most accurate, standardized, and up-to-date information available. Having that information will make it easier to demonstrate how an alternative product will not do the job or meet the required performance levels. In terms of the approach that they use, most specifiers tell us that they prefer to get some initial ideas and then look at those products in more detail later. And 7 out of 10 find it useful to look at case studies about a product's use for inspiration. Comments suggest that specifiers want such case studies to highlight which products were used on a project, evaluate a product's performance after a period of time, and provide direct links between the case study and the product details. Nearly 73% also tell us that they find it helpful if a product is included within MBS, so within our products such as MBS Plus, the MBS National BIM Library, RPS.com and the like. From here, I want to start to think about the specification process more generally. As we know here, a specification has multiple roles. Primarily, respondents told us that it's there to convey accurate information about the project and then enable others to use that to tender for or price the project. At the end of a project, it can also be used to test whether a design has been realised. And of course, we know that things can go wrong with specifications, and we've already seen some of the difficulties that specifiers can face. Not all of those difficulties will lead to a dispute, but some do. The specification has a contractual role, which many respondents recognised. Having considered why specifications are created, it makes sense to look at when they're created, what information they need to include, and how they are created. Shown here in the purple bars are all of the stages when respondents are writing or modifying their specifications. The majority do this during the developed and technical design stages, as we found in 2013. But we are now seeing more specifiers start the process earlier during the preparation and briefing stage or before, and continuing to modify it through construction and into the handover and closeout. We are moving towards the concept of a lifetime specification, one that begins during the strategic definition of the project and then develops during the design, construction and handover, but we aren't there yet. Looking at the blue bars, these show when respondents start to consider what products to include or what their performance criteria should be. Again, the majority consider these during the developed and technical design stages, but a significant number think about them earlier, especially during the concept design stage, and continue to think about them during construction, perhaps as alternatives are suggested. It's clear, though, that specifiers spend a lot of time thinking about and researching products before actually adding them to the specifications. We know from our 2013 survey that specifiers need to be flexible when they're creating specifications. Several factors might prevent or limit the types of information included within a specification. For example, on one project, the client might prevent proprietary information being included, while on another, the client might value that and actually actively encourage people to provide that kind of information. When we ask specifiers about the types of information they include in their specifications, we found that most, 87%, include descriptive information, but 4 out of 5 respondents also provide proprietary information and 3 out of 4 performance information. So clearly the majority include a mixture of those information types within each specification. How are specifications being created? Well, here's the top 7 approaches given by specifiers. The most common way of creating those continues to be reusing those that they've written for other projects, but that of course does present risks. Specifiers might not be referring to the most up-to-date information. It might also mean that they're not referring to current standards or legislation, or elements of it might not be relevant to the current project. For example, they might include carbon steel fasteners on a project that's situated near the coast and obviously a corrosive environment. Looking at the second and sixth method, you can see that many specifiers are looking at manufacturers for help and support. These methods are particularly used by those that are working on refurbishment projects or by those who need to provide proprietary information within their specification. I've no doubt that we have all heard different views from specifiers about the specification process. One that I've certainly heard is of it being one of the less interesting aspects of a construction professional's role. Specifications are also something that aren't taught at university, and for various reasons can be left until the last minute. But to what extent do those views still hold true today? Concerningly, 3 out of 5 respondents tell us that they often rush the specification writing process. Perhaps that isn't a surprise, knowing that specifiers are busy, and that more than half believe that not enough people in their practice know how to write specifications. But manufacturers can help with this by making sure that the information specifiers need is easily available to them at the time when they are writing the specification, even if that's outside of working hours, and are in the formats that they need them, therefore making the specification writing process both quicker and easier. Perceptions of specifications as a chore is a much more contentious issue, with respondents having very contrasting views. Despite that, specifiers do value any help that they can get to make the task of writing a specification easier and quicker. So what about the future of specifications? Well, for 4 out of 5 respondents, future specifications will include environmental performance requirements, and nearly 3/4 also believe that they will need to work more collaboratively. Again, the concept of a lifetime specification came through, with 62% agreeing that specifications should have a life so long as the life of the building or other asset. We were surprised to see only half agreeing that in the future specifications will develop out of the briefing document, but some people's comments really suggest that for them that is and should be happening now. As BIM develops and more companies adopt it, questions have been raised about the specifications' relationship with the model, whether BIM could eventually remove the need for specifications. It's clear that for many people, the two will work alongside each other. Only a third agree that BIM will eventually replace specifications. The specification is an important tool for setting out information and should work alongside the model or drawings. Finally, we wanted to know how the product selection process can be improved in the future. Respondents told us that they want clearer product information or specifications, ensuring that that's standardised to help them compare the relative merits of different products. And they would like to see more manufacturers featured within our MBS specification and product selection tools. So I want to provide you with a bit of a summary as to what we've been through and a few key points that we think it's worth noting. We know both from this research and other research that we've carried out that manufacturers and specifiers have some shared goals. They both want to reduce substitution and both value strong relationships. In the case of specifiers, they are time pressured, which puts pressure on the selection and specification of products. It often means that they rush the specification. They have to know about an increasingly wide range of products, and they need to learn about new methods of construction and manufacture, and they need to adapt to new ways of working, managing technical information and collaborating with other members of the project team. Manufacturers, want to strengthen the relationship with specifiers and start the dialogue earlier in the project timeline. They want to improve the accuracy of specifications, and they have the technical knowledge and the expertise that can help specifiers and aid collaboration. And manufacturers are able and willing to support specifiers and continue to look to improve how they do that. From the survey, we can see that specifiers spend a lot of time considering products before specifying them. To help them in specifying products, specifiers need easy access to manufacturer product information, which is standardized, up to date, and in the format that they need. It's clear from the results that specifiers do value the knowledge of and support they get from manufacturers, and they like it when that support starts earlier in the process. The relationship that they have with manufacturers and the past experience that they have had with them is key. They would rather specify a manufacturer that they both know and trust. But specifiers do need support from manufacturers. They need their help to overcome product substitution, in part through high quality, accurate and up-to-date information, and in part through providing MBS clauses that they can just drop into the specification. They're also looking for manufacturers to provide inspiration through case studies and generally provide them with advice and guidance. But specifiers don't like it when they get the hard sell, and that can put some of them off approaching manufacturers for the guidance and support that they need. So that is the key findings from the survey. We've now got a little bit of time for questions. Because of the number of people on the call, it's probably best if we try and do those questions. Because of the number of people on the call, it's probably best if we can do those questions through the chat facility. You should have the option to message either everyone in the audience or specific people. If you can direct your questions to everybody, and then we'll try and answer as many as we can, and any that we don't get to, we'll have a copy of those questions and we'll be able to come back to you later on. So does anybody have any questions? A couple of people have asked if we're able to provide a copy of both the slides and the report. The report's available to download from our website, and we'll provide a link to that in a moment for anybody who hasn't already downloaded it. We'll also send a copy of the slides through to everybody on the call and who's registered for it afterwards. There's also an option for you to request a printed copy if you would prefer that.
I've got another question there, Jenny. I don't know if you can answer that one.
Yep, I can answer that one. Did you only survey specifiers who use MBS or also those that don't? The survey was published in a number of ways, both by email invite to our customers and those who aren't our customers, and also via press releases. So the respondents to it were a mixture of MBS customers and non-MBS customers. We tend, somebody's asked about whether a part of the role is online, how important that is. We find that a lot of specifiers are looking for the information that they need online. We'll automatically send the slides through to everybody. Everybody who's registered for the website will get a copy of those.
Any questions that we haven't managed to answer, we will follow up on email and answer those.
There are a couple of specific questions that are coming through, so we'll have to come back to some of those, but we will make sure we do that within the next couple of days. Jenny, I think there's a question I've seen that's probably best answered for you. As a manufacturer, how can we engage to specify our products through RIBA and MBS?
I think it would be best to have a discussion around all the product areas, because we have quite a lot within our portfolio, which will enable you to promote to specifiers. And if perhaps I can make contact with you after the WebEx, and we can discuss that in a bit more detail.
Somebody's asking a bit more about the respondents in terms of whether it was only in the UK. In terms of the marketing we did to publicise the survey, that was primarily based in the UK. So I would expect that the majority of the respondents would have been based in the UK, but we didn't specifically ask about where they were based and which countries they worked with.
Okay, have we got any more questions? Okay, Jenny's now just put on the screen contact details and a link where you can download the survey. We'll just leave that on the screen for a minute. As we said, we'll respond to any of the questions over the next couple of days that we haven't got around to. And thank you very much, everyone, for attending and bearing with us with the technical issues.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thanks.